Hey, what's going on, guys? Josh Barr. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing my opinion on the crypto market. Now, in this video, I want to talk about the 4 reasons why I'm not investing in ICOs. And as a general statement, I'm still just bearish on the whole market in general. On my last video, I talked about how the whole market is still on a downtrend. And here is the Token Stats IO looking at the most recent ICOs. And I had an interesting conversation with some investors yesterday. A group of investors got together and they were reviewing a project, talking about the possibility of doing a pool and trying to get an allocation. So as they were going over the projects, they were looking over the team, the use case, the token metrics, so on and so forth. And while there were pros and cons, I mean the project does look good. There are the pros and cons, but at the end of the day, when it came down to when they were deciding if they would invest in this project or not, they all kind of just looked at each other like, man, like the whole market, the whole ICO market, the whole market is just bearish, and they chose not to invest in the project because of the state of the market, not because of the project itself. That was pretty interesting. Um, Personally, I haven't been investing in many ICOs, mainly because there hasn't been many ICOs that I've personally liked. But so I think subconsciously too, I'm just waiting for a true bottom. So if you look at Token Stats IO, if you look at the top, the most recent projects, I mean, it's just a lot of red, 90%, 60%. Wine Chain did a 10x, 15x, but Wine Chain was actually last year's project, so I'll get to that right now. I mean, there's a lot of red here. I mean, Centrality did okay. There's nothing's really done well. Ontology, besides the exception of Ontology and maybe credits here, but there's a lot of red. POA was actually last year's project. I mean, projects are just coming out under ICO price, 80%, 90%. I mean, there's just a lot of blood here. So if you took a look at Wan Chain was actually last year's project, October 2nd here, and it took about 5, 6 months for it to actually release. Again, Wan Chain was definitely a breath of fresh air in this market, 10x, 50x. I'm definitely not complaining. It was one of the highlights of Q1 2018. But it was an interesting statement here by a friend of mine, Ian Bolina, that as much as he has Wan Chain, he bought more of it. Waiting 6 months for a 10x is not what he had in mind. There was an opportunity cost in holding Ethereum BCAs in the ICO, and obviously hindsight 2020. But I definitely see what he's saying, where during that Q4 bull run, there was Dragon Chain, Power Ledger, Icon, even Z Classic, NXT did a 20x. ADA went from 2 cents to $1, so that was about over a 50x. So I see what he means, where from November, December, you missed that whole epic run, locked up in and ICO. I mean, and Wan Chain, which is, I mean, this is kind of an extreme example, but there is a point to be made there where you missed out on all those gains. But again, that's kind of extreme example. So if you look at POA was actually last year's ICO as well. And Ontology's done well. I'm not lying, Ontology's done well. But I mean, just look at all these big losers here. Big red, big red. So if you compare that to just last year's ICO market, and I love ICOstats.com. I really like this website, but for some reason they haven't updated their website. Their most recent ICOs are all 2017 ICOs. I don't know why they haven't updated, but it actually works out for the purpose of this video, because this allows us to see last year's ICOs, and you can see request record 200%, 200%, 132. That's a 10x, 30x, 30x, 300x, 300x, 600x, 500. I mean, just down the line, 40x. I mean, you just see big green. I mean, yeah. I mean, even the red is just a little red. 2%, 25%. It's not much red here. I mean, just look at the big green compared to compare last year's ICO market to Q1 2018 ICO market. I mean, there really is no comparison here. So the first reason I'm not investing in ICOs is because ICOs in this market have not done well. Merthyr did have a little run up, but it was quick. It seemed like it was just quick run up for like a day or two. So the first reason I'm not investing in ICOs is because the market is had no ICOs haven't done well in this current market. The second reason is because I talked about in my last video here where uh Tone Vase is waiting for a bottom and the node investors waiting for sub 6K Bitcoin. And even this guy, Kevin Svensson, he doesn't put out many videos, but I do like what he has to say. He's predicting 2K, 3K Bitcoin, which is fine. This is all predictions here. But the general statement is that we're all. I'm waiting for Bitcoin to actually crash, go lower. So I'd rather hold fiat. I'd rather hold fiat and wait for a true bottom and buy Bitcoin on the floor or as low as it'll go than have my money locked up in an ICO for 30, 60 days. But I mean, just let's talk about the bottom here. I mean, no one really knows the true bottom, but it's interesting how Tone Vase is kind of looking at this chart here, and then he's kind of waiting for a capitulation phase. Same thing with investors kind of waiting for sub 6K Bitcoin. But I like what Kevin said in his latest video that he put out yesterday. He was saying that for there to be a bottom, it's going to be a sharp drop, not just not just gradual on the pop to the green side. It's going to be a sharp drop, and that's exactly kind of what Tone was saying. When there's a true bottom, it's gonna capitulate, and then there's going to be a despondency. So that's why I'm holding cash. But I mean, again, if you look at the total market here, this is still that trend, that downtrend that has still yet to be broken. And yes, we are a little green. We're sitting at 7,300 Bitcoin, but it's right here. It's not. It's still under this downtrend. It has really yet to break out. I really don't see any accumulation phase. And even on this hard drop, it came up. It still was beating down, but it's downtrend. And another interesting thing to note is there was this trend line here from last year. This trend line, and here's the parabolic rise. And even when it kind of capitulated here, if you will, it was still upheld by this trend line. It bounced here, and then it bounced here. It was still respecting that trend line, but the third time it finally broke, and then it came under here, which is this, if you want to call it support, the support line. It did bounce a little bit, but again, the whole market is still on this downtrend, and I would like to see some sideways action, some bowling here. Oh, here's McAfee charging $100,000 for a tweet. So the second reason I'm not investing is I'd rather wait for a true bottom and hold fiat. But the reason is, I mean, if you look at yesterday's story with the founders of Centra, they got arrested and the SEC charging Centra. I mean, there's just still a lot of uncertainty in the space. Plus the 30, 60-day lockup. It's not, to me, it's not worth it in this market. But it's interesting with Centra because they were actually listed on Binance. So Binance has been a very well, just exchanges in general have been very picky on the coins, the altcoins they allow on their markets, right? Because the SEC is finally cracking down. Same thing with Bittrex. They're not allowing as many projects. So I remember last year, projects would get listed fairly quickly, and here my internet's kind of slow. But I mean, you could still see how it kind of dumped a little bit, 40 cents, 30 cents, and then it ran up to $3, $4 at the highest probably. So even though it wound up being a scam, you could still make money. Scammers still make money, and then you just see this sharp drop here as it died. But anyways, it was listed on Binance, and Binance for the most part doing their due diligence now. Their due diligence is really hard for projects to get on a quality exchange. And I will say this about Central though, that I think when they did get on, they got on in October. So Binance wasn't the #1 exchange at that time. Now it is, and it's just getting harder and especially with it just happened. I'm sure Binance is even becoming even more stricter given this I guess negative they've had in the past 24 hours. But with that being said, I mean, it's just exchanges 24-hour volume. Exchanges have lost half their web traffic. So here's Kraken, Binance, Bitfinex. I mean, they all pretty much lost 50% of their traffic. So what does that matter? That matters because who's gonna buy it when it hit exchanges, right? People, I remember again 6 months ago, people would do it. There was an ICO and people couldn't get in the ICO because there was FOMO or it reached a hard cap. The pre-sale was closed, so people were like, "Man, I missed the ICO." So you know what? I'm gonna wait for it hit exchanges. So you wait for it hit exchanges and you buy exchanges, but now that exchanges aren't even getting the volume that they used to, who's gonna buy it when it hits exchanges? Again, 30-day lockups, 60-day lockups. I mean, if you had, I remember when the Ethereum was at 1,000, it takes 30 days to get your tokens. Then it takes another 30 days to hit exchanges. I mean, you're better off just selling Ethereum at 1,000 and rebuying here at 400. I mean, obviously, that's hindsight. But even when you saw it coming down here, 800, 700, I mean, it's still getting beat up by that downtrend. And just the opportunity cost of 30, 60-day lockups in this downtrend. I mean, again, that's what I'm saying. I'd rather just hold fiat. I'd rather hold fiat than have my money locked up and I can't get it out when I need it. Maybe if you sold it like right at the absolute bottom here, 30 days later, or absolute bottom here. But again, projects are just having such a hard time getting on exchanges, and there's just too much of opportunity cost on this downtrend. I remember again last year. I remember people, okay, I'll put my Ethereum here and lock it up in an ICO because it was kind of like forcing you to hodl. So when it was forcing you to hodl in this uptrend, like, oh cool, like it forced me to hodl. But now that's not the case in this downtrend. Again, where I would rather be holding fiat. The fourth reason I would rather hold, I'm not investing in ICOs, is because I mean there's plenty of just quality altcoins. I mean today's kind of like a green day, but now is your chance to buy your favorite altcoin at the bottom. Now is your favorite chance to load up on your bags, your altcoins that you love. I mean there are a lot of quality projects out there that are undervalued, or quality projects that you can really get at very nice entries. And they're already on exchanges, they're already out and about, they're already working, if you will, in comparison to the uncertainty of ICOs and the market and the SEC and regulations, utility, security tokens. And just that lockup's not worth it to me. So again, um, Q1 ICOs or 2018 ICOs haven't really done well. The ones that have come out are actually last year's ICOs. The second reason I'd rather hold cash to buy the dip. I'd rather hold cash to buy the dip. The third reason is just the uncertainty of exchanges, of the lockup, the opportunity cost, 30, 60 days. And the fourth reason is I'd rather just buy a quality altcoin or a coin that I believe in at these prices. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you're doing, and if you're still investing in ICOs or if you're looking at altcoins. But until then, I'll see you on the moon.